More on the Chinese reaction to Shinzo Abe's visit. I'm joined by Victor Gao, director of the China National Association of International Studies. Mr. Gao, welcome back to the show. Can you tell us why this visit was so hurtful to Chinese and to the Koreans?
Thank you for having me. I think by visiting the Yasukuni Shrine in his official capacity as the Japanese Prime Minister and paying his respect to the war criminals who were hanged by the Far Eastern Military Tribunal at the end of the Second World War, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is revealing his true nature, and his true nature turns out to be a neo-Japanese fascist. Why? Because he wants to deny the responsibility of Japan in the Second World War. He wanted to deny the verdict of the Second World War, and he wanted to change the terms of Japan's unconditional surrender at the end of the Second War. Now, these will raise alarms in countries like China, Korea, etc., because we were the victims in the Second World War. And also don't forget, the United States was also the victim because the Japanese military bombed the Pearl Harbor. And I don't think anyone with any sense of decency in the United States will ever forget the atrocities committed by Japan. Therefore, I think Shinzo Abe's act yesterday actually is tantamount to trying his best to overturn the verdict of the Second World War. So I think countries in this part of the world and also peace-loving countries throughout the world need to be on alert against any sign of resurrection of the Japanese militarism. And I think even though the United States claims that Japan is its ally, yes, of course it is an ally, but as an ally, the United States should not commit any act of appeasement if Japan is moving in the wrong direction of rearming itself and try to resurrect its militarism and become another threat to countries in this part of the world. The world should not tolerate any resurrection of Japan as a military power posing a threat to its neighbors.
Mr. Gao, his visit is widely believed and seen as a deliberate provocation. Some experts say that Abe wanted to make China angry. What do you make of that accusation?
I think Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is indulging in his fantasy. He's deluded in his own view of the history, in his own view of the world, in his own view of Japan in the context of the world today. Because any act of war or rearming Japan will not serve any constructive purposes. And I think by alienating China and countries like South Korea, which again is a very staunch ally of the United States, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe may actually create a situation where the U.S. alliance in this part of the world with Japan on the one hand and with South Korea on the other hand may be turned into turmoil. Because now the reality is that South Korea and China are united against Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's visit to the Yasukuni Shrine, and China and South Koreans are united in any attempt by Japan under Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to rearm itself. So I would say eventually the United States also need to play a really global leadership role in urging Japan, in urging Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to back down from this path of danger, because eventually, if Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is not put into check, he may bring Japan onto a path of danger, and Japan will again become a victim, and the Japanese nation will again go through sufferings. That's why, Shinzo Abe may turn out to be a very dangerous leader for the Japanese people, and this is a sign of worry and great concern in this part of the world. And I think all peace-loving countries need to get united against this rise of neo-Japanese fascism.
All right, Victor Gao, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for that.